Hello, everybody. Welcome to another candid conversation in the series where we are exploring parenthood, motherhood, fatherhood, what it really means. And in this series, I am today speaking to a wonderful person, great mother, human being, my good friend. Manu Sophia Jain. Manu is a marriage and family therapist in USA, and she's also a co-author of two books called Creativity is Whatever You Want It to Be and Invisible No More, Stepping into Spotlight. And my and Manu's journey go, I think 2 years back, when we got introduced by a common friend. And I am so grateful to him to have introduced us because ever since we've been sort of having conversations, coaching each other, and we are also meditating together. So she is also my meditation partner and a very, very deeply spiritual person. Welcome, Manu, to today's conversation.
Thank you, Komal. And likewise, I am just so much in awe and grateful that our paths have met and that we're in each other's lives. And thank you. Thank you
Wonderful.
for having me here as well and having me part of this journey of your
I
podcast.
couldn't have done it without you. I couldn't have done it without you. So today we are having a very different conversation, which is primarily around motherhood. I know we've exchanged quite a lot of notes because I'm a mom, you're a mom to such a beautiful child. But today we want to focus primarily on your journey. So a very wide open question. How would you define or what would you say about being the mother?
Oh, wow. So being a mother for me has been the most self-reflective journey that I can think of, something that has led me to commit to my personal growth and allowing me to see parts of myself that were hidden as I was growing up or before I became a mom. And just really getting present to what life really is about. It truly is a miracle. And just embracing that and understanding that child really is the father of man, in the words of Williams Wordsworth. We get to learn if we give ourselves the opportunity. We get to learn from our children, and we get to choose to change patterns, to change cycles, and we get to choose to really understand what unconditional love is. So yeah.
That's beautiful. I think that's wonderful. And I wish it's more self reflective for more and more parents because there is a whole lot that we can learn from our children than what most of us feel like we are supposed to make them learn. I think there's a lot more for us to learn from our children. I know you are not normally all that serious kind of person, and you have a very amazing sense of humor and quirk. And I remember one thing which you sometimes said, like, they don't come with a manual.
True, they don't. I mean, I recall reading this book called What to Expect When You're Expecting Part One, then Part Two. I read the whole thing cover to cover, understanding, but no. And talk about parenting workshops. Do I create some? Yeah. Have I participated in some? Yes. But there's always going to be unique things. Every child has a unique experience. Every parent has a unique experience. So there is no one size fits all or blueprint model that we can use. It's a general idea that we can have, but yeah, they don't come with manuals. I wish they did, but no, they don't.
So what really made you learn? What really helped you navigate through this motherhood journey? And I know that you've had your fair share of challenges too.
Mm-hmm.
But what really worked for you?
Just really getting present and listening to my child at each stage of development. Like, you know, when a little child cries, they're crying because either they're in discomfort. I'm talking about an infant. Either because they're in discomfort, because they have a bellyache or indigestion, or they can't sleep, or they're too tired, or they're hungry, or something's going on viscerally in the body. As they get older, because they can't communicate their needs and they want to, because of frustration, they'll have tantrums, you know, different developmental stages or whatnot. Just really getting present to, like, okay, I know I'm getting or I'm feeling a certain way because my child is acting or behaving in a certain way, but really listening to that. And sometimes I have realized, and I'm pretty sure some of the parents, and you will agree to this, sometimes children say the darnest things, and they're like, "Oh God, you have a point." You know, recently my little one said something to me as like, "Well, you're not moving fast enough. You're not doing this. Why are you taking so long?" And she goes to me, "Well, I was built that way," which opened a whole different can of worms, and it allowed me to kind of slow down and reflect on my own self, my own journey when I was a child, and how my parents culturally handled that, or socially handled that, or how the schools handle that, and how that has now impacted me in the way I function, the way I think, the way I act. And I was like, do I want to continue this cycle or do I want to change? And really getting present to that and listening, whether it's their bodily cues, whether it's their, you know, cues of how they're, you know, behaving with you or what they're saying. Sometimes kids will say something, we're like, we don't want to hear it. I must have a dozen parents in mind that I can, you know, on the top of my head is like, well, we don't have the time to listen to what the child has to say. And when we do that, we're denying that child to give us an opportunity to learn as well.
Right.
Because it's easy. I mean, there's a saying that goes, you know, children are to be seen, not heard, which was back in the day. And that mentality is now changing. However, it's still present in like subtle ways everywhere. And let's get real. Like, as adults, we have responsibilities. We got to bring in the moolah. We got to work. We have to take care of our households, cook, clean, do whatever we need to do. And then it leaves us this much energy left in our energy budget to put that for our children, depending on, you know, our circumstances.
Yeah.
Or how many people or how much support a parent really has to take care of the child who's being brought up.
It's so interesting when you share that experience, because that happens with me as well. Sometimes when I hear my children sort of counter question me, and I feel like my instinct is like, why are you asking me this question? And then on the other hand, I am so appreciative of them because I feel like, oh my God, they have the guts to say, which I could never say. Right. And I wonder, like, if I could have ever said that or put it in that way, you know, would things have been different? And I understand, you know, I've heard it firsthand from my parents where they now, after many, many years, they would acknowledge that maybe because we were so busy in the race of making a life that we might have ignored or overlooked certain things which were important. And I feel like for the parents today, the life is even faster. Challenges are even graver. Competition, if we consider, is even harsher. And in the old days, still people had some concept, some idea of joint families or some family support. But these days, it's primarily nuclear families. And then we have a generation who doesn't shy away from asking questions or putting difficult questions in front of parents.
See,
How
there's
do
two
you
things.
manage that?
So there's two things to that, Como. One, what you mentioned are the demands, right? There is a greater demand. Technology is faster. Back in the day when I was growing up, oh my God, I'm dating myself here. You know, we used to call it jet bait, right? But now it's like, I don't know what it was called, supersonic games. I'm not sure, but it's more more and more, like there's more competition, even though we say like, well, there's no competition. But then to counterbalance that, there's more awareness amongst our generation or certain parents, this, you know, in this 21st century, 2022, going into 2023, where we're like, okay, we no longer require our children to be obedient. The word obedience, where you're going to listen to what the parents say no matter what, when, where, and how. And of course, there's outliers. There's different types of parenting. There's different cultures. There's different scenarios. So it's not going to be like, I'm just giving one example of what, you know, I grew up with, understanding like what obedience means. Obedience would be, okay, parent says this, you're going to do this. You're going to sit a certain way. You're going to be proper. Once again, you're going to be, you know, seen, not heard, do as I say. And there's an aspect of control that also goes into it, which I don't want to get into. However, now we no longer require that from our children. So now these amazing little people, children, have the opportunity to think for themselves. And that's why they question, because by nature, children are curious. They want to know why what's happening. Right?
Yeah.
And so when adults stop suppressing those questioning and start engaging with them in a healthy manner, or give the children the platform to talk about things, then patterns and cycles that we called unhealthy or that caused fear and abandonment issues or rejection issues or not good enough issues from childhood into adulthood, that trickles down into people's relationships, that trickles down into how we view our own selves and everything, then those things can actually be nipped in the bud.
But I'm thinking, yes, today's children are exposed to more information. Yes, they show greater level of self-awareness than when we were kids. But do they all get the same sort of environment? I doubt.
No. So
There would still be places, there would still be parents for whom it's important that their children just listen to them and not question or be disciplined, or, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like it's only coming from my journey, like my understanding and my self-reflective journey in this aspect, like what I've come to realize as a parent, you know, and of course everyone's journey is different.
So in what ways, since your journey has been so reflective, in what ways do you think being a mother has changed you as a person?
Oh my gosh. It certainly taught me courage. It certainly taught me not to quit on myself or others. It certainly taught me how to persevere, how to trust in myself, how to be okay standing alone when the whole world is against you. Embrace life and really learn to love myself, to sum it in a short thing.
Wow. It's like, you know, that little bundle is
Mm-hmm.
so potent and powerful that it can change you in so many positive ways.
Be a better person for sure.
And I also know that you are single-handedly taking care of your girl. You're a single mom. And I also wanted to touch a little bit upon that because, you know, as such, it is said that it takes a whole entire village to take care of a child. And then to be not having that support of a partner alongside while taking care of a child, I mean, it definitely needs a lot of courage. What more does it need?
That's the question. If we can answer, it's $1,000,000 question. But however, to understand my own journey, because the culture that I come from, you and I have a similar cultural background. You know, first of all, getting divorced is a taboo. or used to be. And I know modern day India is a little bit different, seen differently.
No, trust me, still is, still is.
However, the
Yeah.
reality is totally different.
Yeah.
And, children of divorced parents are looked at differently. And
Hmm.
that cuts down even further support of the interactions that I can have with people from the same culture, or how my child is viewed when she wants to interact with other children from the same culture. So that definitely was an impact on having the low support, cultural support. Um, Second taboo is like raising your child alone. It's better off to ship the child off somewhere else to the father's family, or kind of walk away or get married right away to raise the child alone, because it's not conducive to parenting. And I know I've shared this with you before, and I'm also, something tells me in my heart that this is not a unique situation to me. When my daughter was about to be born, I had a lot of pressure to not bring her into this world. And that was the toughest time, one of the toughest times for me, because, I had waited about a decade to have a child. And when I certainly knew that I was going to have this little person in my life and get attached to this human life, or, whatever choices that we make in our mind, and just hearing that from people who we feel are going to support you, that are going to be there for you, and this human person you're going to give birth to. And when they mention that, hey, maybe it's better off to not let that happen, rather than give that child a life where both parents are not going to be present, it's hard. It's really rough, and it breaks you down.
Yeah.
And I had to make the choice to stand alone for a while in that, and make that choice to bring her into this life. And there were several times, like even until, I believe, just until 3 years of age, where I had a lot of pressure to kind of give her away to the other parent's family, or, there were talks here and there. And sometimes one thing I would want to bring forward is that when we want to support someone, it's really important to listen to how we can support them, not just say something, because words can be really hurtful.
Yes.
And words such as, like, for example, my choice was like, I want to have this child. I want to bring her into this world, and I want to raise her right. Can you help me be a part of this person's life? And it's easy to say, yeah, we'll be there, but it's better off if you did this. It's better off if you shipped her off somewhere else.
Yeah, it is like indirectly saying that, oh no, don't count on me.
Exactly. And not only that, it's also saying you're not capable.
Yeah.
Now, certain people can be in certain situations when they're not mentally, physically, emotionally ready. I get it. I get it. But if we're gonna quit on life just for the reasons of, hey, you're getting divorced, you're gonna have a better life in the world. These are the exact words, and I can't quote who said it for respect of the other person's privacy. The world is going to be your oyster if you just let go of her. And she was almost 3 before her 3rd birthday when these words were said to me. Until this day, like, it has an impact on me,
Mm.
And the world is my oyster. And I am living the best life, and I'm living my purpose, despite what was said. And this is where my growth came in. Being able to, in a positive way, challenge that and do the best that I can in that moment, with or without the support. So when you ask what could have, what could have been there, just listen, just be there, hold that space. Sometimes when we say things or when people say things out of what their worldview is like, and you kind of pushed it on to another person, that could break someone's morale down.
Yeah. And this is such an important point, and I think it would be so useful for so many people. So I just want to stay on this for a little while because I do understand that there are these mindsets and there are these thoughts which are sometimes told to women, especially,
Yeah.
that, oh, how would you handle the child alone? Or it'll be very difficult, it'll be very hard. Yes, it will be difficult. Yes, it would be hard. But then that is an acknowledgement and recognition that your support or the support of the society and the family members and friends would be required, would be called out more for.
Right.
And so if as family members or as friends, you are only highlighting the fact that, oh, it's going to be difficult, and not saying that, oh, but, we'll be around, we'll be there. That means you are just washing away from that basic humanity, that basic courtesy, or understanding or realizing that the child just doesn't belong to the person who gives birth to them. A child really belongs to the entire humanity, to the entire family, to the entire race. That is something which people have sort of forgotten so
Well,
grandly. And it's sort of become a sort of an ownership, isn't it? Like,
yes and no,
you've given
Komal.
birth to a child, you own it, your responsibility, and we just wash away.
In that point of view, yes. But there's a yes and no situation to this.
Mhm.
Yes, there's a cultural aspect to this, what you and I are talking about. And
Right.
it's very ingrained. Some people are aware of this, some people are not aware of this. And it's the intensity of that is different across the board, right?
Mhm.
However, I want to point out the people outside of my culture, my closest friends, they came forward.
Mm.
And I am so utterly grateful. Like there were times when my little one was maybe 3-4 months old, and I just needed to take a shower. And one of my close friend Barb, she just stood up, and my child would cry incessantly, obviously from anxiety manifests in so many ways. Some children are colicky, and it can lead a parent to feel extremely frustrated. I was there, okay? I was pulling my hair out there. And just to have my friend Barb hold her for 45 minutes so I could take a long shower in like God knows how many days, I can't talk about that, was really helpful. Or coming forward to just show up. And my advice to people who really want to support parents, even not just single parents, any parents, just show up. Ask what the parents really need. Sometimes it could be as simple as making them a cup of tea.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as, hey, I watered your plants outdoors.
Mm.
It could be so simple. It could be as simple as like, do you want a glass of cup of water, or do you want me to take the baby for a minute? Anything. It could be the simplest of things. But really, the most important is showing emotional support. Because when my closest friends showed that is what gave me strength and courage.
Mm. And that's the way how a village really can take care of a child.
Yeah. The first,
Giving a little breather to the mother, a little support to the family, little eye on the child, whether they are doing good while they're playing outside. And in these little ways, everybody sort of contribute. And yeah.
absolutely. So it makes a difference, you know.
Wonderful. And one thing I understand is for all the women who are who have children or who are contemplating to have children, whether single or with a partner, I think being a mother is such a beautiful experience. Yes, it is challenging. It's very tiring and incessantly exhausting for many, many years in so many different ways. But despite that, I think it helps you find a source of strength within you, which you, I think, without being there, it's really hard to get that strength. And I'm not saying that only for those mothers who give birth to a child and become mothers. I'm also including those mothers who take on the responsibility to bring up a child, whether it is not their own as well, because it's actually that nurturing and that bringing up a process which helps you really find that strength and courage within.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
So, Manu, although you've had wonderful friends and all, but what more do you think could have really supported you in this journey and could have made this so memorable?
Well, if you ask me that in that point of view, I would say that really just asking me or just being there. Certain people, not putting that pressure. Because there were times where I felt that the rug beneath my feet was being pulled.
Mm.
So not only did I feel not supported, I felt the little bit of support that I was getting was kind of being ripped away from me. And that was the hardest, the constant pressure, like having your own agenda, like, pushing that towards me. That if I listen to such and such, that my life will be better.
Mm.
And that choosing to have my child is not a good decision.
Mm. Let's get to that. Let's talk about your relationship with your daughter.
Yeah.
Tell me something about that because I know I've seen so much of sweetness and so much of beauty there.
What can I say? She keeps me on my toes. She is very intelligent. She's very emotionally present. Her and I have heart to heart all the time about what things are going, of course, in age appropriate ways, and of course, she's 8.5. Like, I can't expect her to have a fully developed emotional maturity. But even then, extremely thoughtful. We, in our household, we take mental health very seriously. Um, we actually have certain family rules that we came up with where family is supposed to be kind. They have to have laughter. They have to have love amongst each other. Most of all, have fun. It's a very
Mm.
simple rule.
Yeah.
Starting with kindness. And together, we have learned that we have to be kind towards ourselves first before we can show that to another person. And so these are the type of conversations we have at home. And given the fact that, yes, things were utterly difficult, and there were times where I know I had shared this with you. I had actually debated at one point, almost giving into the pressure to actually drop off my 6-month-old daughter at my ex's doorstep at one point when he was living in Delaware. And I chose not to. Something went up here, and I was like, I had this whole conversation. It's like, no, because I'm going to now commit and choose to give this child the best life that I can, whatever's within my control.
Mm.
Less, no problem. No resources, no problem. But I
Yeah.
am going to start with kindness
Yeah.
because that doesn't cost anything. I am going to start with laughter because that doesn't cost anything. I'm gonna shower this child with love because that doesn't cost anything. And I'm going to have fun most of all because that doesn't cost anything either. Now, some people will argue saying that, you love the child too much, you spoil a child. I don't believe in that. Love
No.
doesn't mean you're going to just give everything to the child. Like, if she was here, she'd tell you, I'm strict. Okay. I give consequences. There's natural consequences, there's mom consequences. That's both.
Yeah.
And it's pivotal to understand this. Now, when that started happening, does it take longer for us to do things? Of course. But that doesn't mean that we're not having all these things. Like, made me realize a few years ago, what do we earn for? We make $1 million, whatever, like how much ever you can earn, right? 6 figures, $1 million, who cares? At the end of the day, what do we want our home, our cars, our bank accounts to give us? Joy, love, happiness. And if we're still not getting that, then there's something wrong with the equation right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
We can have accolades. They may not bring us joy or happiness or self-worth. We can have the largest homes or the smallest homes, doesn't matter. If there's no joy, that means something's missing. And what my child helped me understand when I became a mom and I chose not to leave her at the doorstep when she was 6 months old, is that I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose laughter.
Yeah.
And I'm going to inculcate those values in this one. And yeah, it's been challenging. But about a year ago, when she was 6, she started writing a book about the dog shelter. And today she's a published author.
And she's 8.5.
She's 8.5. She published it last year.
I know. And she didn't just write it, she made the illustrations too.
Yep. And she worked very diligently every day, very slowly. I didn't put any pressure on her, like, oh, you need to get this done, or this has to be done a certain way. I'm like, okay, you do you. Did I guide her? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did I encourage her the day she wanted to quit because, God, this is so hard, because the person who's publishing it said that, well, it's not enough pages. And that can be overwhelming for a child. So did I encourage her? Yeah. Did I let her quit? No. And that's what parenting is about.
Yeah.
It's unique. And it brings joy to me. And it also helps me understand that I am capable. It's not a challenge accepted, like ego, or like slap in the face to you. Like, you said this to me certain years ago that I should quit on my child. That was my decision. And that was an intuitive decision. That was an instinctive decision. That was a conscious choice.
That was a mother's instinct.
Sure. The good news, Komal, is that when I reflect back on this, remember I said, like, this has been a self-reflective journey for me being a mother. I am so grateful that I didn't get postpartum depression because of all the pressure and the negativity and the criticism or negative talks about what was going on. So that was a huge blessing, because I think that would have just been another layer. Which, probably
I guess nature knows the best. Yeah. And sometimes we human become too big for our own shoes, and we start to feel like, oh, we control everything, or we know everything. But I guess nature knows the best.
Hey, if all this didn't happen, what happened, and I didn't go through the journey in the way I went through the journey, I wouldn't be thinking about these things. I wouldn't be thinking about breaking parenting cycles of how I was parented. I wouldn't take it a step further. I
Hmm.
wouldn't feel that drive or that push to want to break that cycle and parent my child in a different way.
Yeah. I love it so much because just when you said that you were present for her and you saw her and you heard her.
That's hard.
And
Listen, don't get me wrong. It's really hard sometimes.
I know, I know that. I've got two of them. One is teenager.
Because all I hear is her. And I was like, I need to think. I need to hear myself think quiet inside voices, you know?
Yeah. But I love it when you said about like I chose that I'll give her the best of what I can. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is so important because sometimes if we just continue to look outside as parents and say that, oh, are we giving our children the best? Like, who's best?
Mm-hmm.
Best in comparison to what? And we do not include like what I can, what is this reality? So in a way, it says that yes, try having the intention to give them the best, but the best of who you are,
Yeah.
right? And that recognition is also very important to be passed on to the children so that they stay grounded. And I see that groundedness, that kindness, and that creativity in Siona, and it's so beautiful.
Definitely, Como, you bring forth such an important point that I wish more and more parents would know, whether they're single or in joint parenting or whatever it is, that give your best. Not don't compare yourself to other parents.
Yeah,
Don't compare yourself to the parents who have more resources or less resources. Compare yourself to you.
yeah,
That's it. Keep it simple.
yes,
Keep it
exactly.
simple, and it's still. I mean, it's still going to be challenging, yeah, but there's going to be more joy in your life.
Yeah,
100%. Whether you have less, more, nothing, or everything, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
When you have joy in your life, everything can be worked around and you feel fulfilled. And imagine raising children who feel that way while they're growing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, what are your hopes going forward for you and her?
That we're going to continue to grow together, continue to evolve together. I am nervous and excited about her to go into her pre-tween teens, because I think that is the most, a lot of parents, that's the most challenging time when your child is a teenager, also because your mind develops and you're going through different stages of biologically and anatomically as well. However, I think when children feel most supported during that time,
Mm,
they get to choose their journeys now. And they get to choose how they're going to conduct their life and understand their own values and become independent creatures. and I am actually excited and nervous because here's the thing. I primarily work with teens. I work with teen boys and teen girls, and I'm passionate about that. So I'm just kind of curious to see
how she's going to be
how
in
she is
this.
going to turn out and how our interactions are going to look like. Because I always tell her, I'm your parent. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your coach. I'm your guide. I'm your mom. And I want to be that way.
Mm.
So I get to choose to get upset or, say things to you or give you advice and tell you you did something wrong.
Yeah, I truly vouch that you cannot be the mom and coach for the same person.
Nope.
No, you cannot be. It's so
It's
exhausting.
not,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to not be her mother. I want to enjoy that aspect and I want her to feel safe enough to
yeah,
have that bond with me.
yeah. That's very interesting. And it reminds me one conversation that I had with Srishti when she was just stepping into the teen. And one day I got upset with her on something, and she got upset with me that I'm not like giving her time like that or listening to all her da 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 da. Da. I was like, Srishti, I can't listen to you incessantly all the time. I also have to do my work. And she was like, oh, but don't you think when the children grow up, parents become their friends? So if you're not my friend, you don't listen to me. I said, no, that's wrong. I am not your friend. And she was like, what is she saying? And I said, listen, I'm your mom. I can be a friendly mom to you, but I cannot be your friend.
Hmm.
If I will become your friend, will your friends become your mom? She went silent for a moment, thinking, like, yeah, it does make sense. I was like, listen, let's not change the rules. Let me not be your friend. Let me be a friendly mom. That much I can do, but I can't be your friend. I would rather you go out, you make friends, and you make as many friends as you like, and I'll be really gentle to them, but spare me from the duty of being your friend.
You might not like what I'm about to say then.
Okay, say it anyways.
I think it's the definition, the meaning we attach to friendship, right?
Yeah.
So with my daughter, I always say, I'm your friend. However, I'm your mom first.
Hmm.
So being a mother will always supersede
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can be your friend and we can do things together. I will listen to you. We will interact. We will have conversations. However, if I see that I need to tell you something and guide you in a certain way, then friend on a pause, mom.
Hmm.
As she gets older, that I'm hoping that that line is going to be a little bit different, but my definition and the meaning that I associate with the word friend is also very different.
Yeah.
Um,
I think in essence, it's the same thing that we were saying, but I just said it a very point blank thing. Like,
it's actually funny though. It kind of reminds me of how I interact with my daughter. So when she was younger, she didn't get my sarcasm. I have a lot of like I can be sarcastic sometimes, and sometimes I'm really corny. She's finally started to get sarcasm. I was like, I'm like, yes, yes,
like
like so.
I've imprinted her now.
And it's funny because sometimes like because in the field that I am in how I interact with other folks, and I see that with her as well, talking about parenting. Sometimes I mean I know that someone's joking, but I just want to make sure because you never know.
It's interesting. Like, my daughter she's like sarcasm personified. And then the little one, her younger brother, who is now just getting into his preteens, he's got the sarcasm from her. And I was like, you too?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you too? You have also picked it up from her? And he was like, okay. And so they do. I think they do pick up a lot of nuances, and that's wonderful. It's so wonderful to know your journey and your relationship with Siona. But before we wrap up our conversation, can I ask you a personal question?
Sure, let's see. Go for it.
Okay, like I can ask you, but then you can decide whether you want to answer or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
So, I know that being a single parent isn't easy. And then, being some, and then there is also a part to being a mother, which is like you're a woman as well of yourself. So, and if you would have been alone, just a single woman, it will be a completely different way to choose for your life, and maybe you look for a partner and all. But having a child definitely puts you in an additional responsibility, because you're not just now looking for a partner, but for a potential father. So, what have been your thoughts or your experiences in that area? Have you ever thought of going in that direction?
So, for the past, until the first 5 years of her life, that aspect of my life was just closed, completely closed, because I wanted to focus on my own healing. Because as individuals, we have to learn to heal our own insecurities, our own trauma, and also focus on the needs. Like a young child's needs are they rapidly change from like diapers to this to that to preschool to speaking to potty training, everything, right? So my primary focus was on that, and mindset where I was at, I wasn't really looking for a father.
Mm.
I wanted a partner, of course, you know, but that didn't happen at that time, and that's okay too, because I think the universe was, wanting me to focus more on me.
The
And
nature knows.
yeah, nature knows. And I didn't give into one thing that I will always say, and this is probably hard for people to hear and probably will receive a lot of criticism for this. It's hard to not give into those human needs and just stay focused.
Hmm.
And I just stayed focused on things that needed to be done. And that took precedence over other things, like being in a relationship or something like that. And I just let nature flow and show me what's healthy, what's unhealthy. Because let's say I ended up being in a relationship with someone, but I'm not healed. I'm really overwhelmed with my child. So how do I balance that? There's not going to be any balance. And then that's not going to be conducive to a personal relationship with me and whomever I would have been with, which would also reflect negatively
On the child.
on my child. So knowing that, understanding that, I chose, once again, I chose to put a pause in that department. Now, did I kept myself open to receiving? Yeah, like, like if the universe was going to send someone my way, they might have had, but no. Anyway, as time has gone on, and my daughter and I've had candid conversations about these, because of course with parenting and having one of the parents who's been inconsistent or not present, or it puts a damper on understanding what her relationship should look like.
Hmm.
She only knows that through her friends, right? Or through the television, or what we talk about, or what we process when, she'll come back home from occasional visits, lack thereof, and once the conversation started occurring between her and my closest friend, I kind of like, kept my mind open, heart open. That's what I'm just gonna leave it at. And when the timing is correct, it doesn't matter what you're looking for. It's the energy you put out. You're gonna get that back.
Right.
And it will align. I am a big believer of the law of attraction. I'm a big believer of what you sow is you shall reap type of deal, in an energetic point of view.
Right.
Let me be clear in that. So if I put out a certain energy with a will and intent, if it's in alignment, it will show up, and sometimes it shows up in the most beautiful ways.
I so hope that happens. And if
Maybe
you
it's in
just
the making.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in the
Who
making
knows?
is just something that's gonna have to be a conversation for another day. Come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But thank you so much for being your candid self and showing us little aspects of, what it really means to be a mom to you and your own journey and your relationship with Fiona. I wish you both more joy and, more happiness, more success in both mother and daughter author life.
I just want this to be a reflection that to other parents, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. Single parents, the parents, joint parents, whatever you must, that don't give up. There are ways to learn from every situation in our lives, and that not to get disheartened. There are when we work on ourselves, the right people and the right support will show up. Sometimes later than when you want it, but it does show up.
Yeah.
It really depends on how open are we to receiving from the universe. Are we open-minded? Are we open-hearted? And that's the one thing, or my 2 cents that I will put in, is that stay open. Stay open.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that humility too, because sometimes if at one point you're not uh, given the support that you needed, you can become a little bit of a bitter and start to sort of hold things close to your heart. And then now I won't let anybody do anything or share. But what you're saying is, I think it makes a lot of sense that staying open to receive whatever support, whatever help comes your way, and being grounded and humble for that.
And also give back,
And
pay forward, pay
mm,
forward. So these are 2 things. And with that, I just want to express my gratitude to even, to you, to allow me this platform to be a channel to say this. And hopefully someone out there listening is going to benefit from this and find that courage that is within them, and find that wisdom, and find that courage.
And on that note, I would like to call you out and hold you responsible. I know that there is something that you need to begin, which is your courageous conversations, your own platform that I know you so dearly want to do. And I think whoever must be listening would know why courage is so important for you.
Absolutely.
So I just pray and wish that in 2023 you will give me the opportunity to come on your channel and talk about that.
Absolutely. And there are some things that are in the making, like I said, in all aspects of my life, my personal life, my professional life, my creative life, spiritual life. So and there's a saying, when there's progress in one area of your life, it kind of trickles down into all areas of your life. So just hang in there. That's something that I tell myself, that I'm telling you, that I'm telling our viewers. Hang in there. Just trust the process, trust yourself, keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Love you and thank you.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Take care, everybody.